Break it up, you kids. Beat it, all of you. Every day I gotta tell you. You want to get killed?
Of course they don't want to get killed. But what are they going to do? Kids have to play. Play is their exercise, physical and social. And exercise is an essential part of their development. Without it, there would be no development at all. Kids that age have got bodies to build, and instinctively, they're going to do it. All they need is room, space. But what do we do to help them?
Can't you read that sign?
Well, what are they going to do? Some youngsters get the breaks. They're born with enough money to buy growing space. Then they put a fence around it. When they're not using it, nobody else can. These kids aren't going to stay idle long. They're restless, dynamic. Good or bad, right or wrong, they're developing, and nothing's going to stop them. You can hold that energy back just so long. Then, it's got to explode. And who's to blame if it comes to harm? If boys have to find their own play space, who's to blame if they pick the dangerous ones? It seems to me that most communities have grown up all too concerned just with the business of growing up. There's lots of room for work. Factory space, office space, store space. That's all been looked at. But where's the room for living? There's what I mean. Explosive energy that seizes the handiest opportunity. Thieves? Not likely. Just boys without a chance. We can punish them in the courts, but what good does that do? We're punishing them for a crime we encourage them to commit. If we cover our land with buildings and leave only the streets for play, doesn't it make sense that all of them are going to be done on the streets? Talk about frustration. Keep off, keep out, keep off everything, out of everywhere, always don't, never do. Everything negative and never a positive suggestion. What's a kid to do? Here's the school. Costs the taxes. More thousands every year for upkeep and still more for teachers. Most of that money is being spent on academic training. They come in here bringing all their energy with them. We sit them down, each all by himself, and deny all their natural social instincts. We make them worry through their problems all alone. To let their social instincts free is a crime. We cram their heads with facts, make their brains work top speed, and we make them keep their bodies still most of the day while the energy piles up within them. The school does a good job, of course, within its instructions. The taxpayers have told us to educate their children, and essentially, they mean academic education. That much we're doing, and we're doing it well. But there's so much more this community should be doing. Education of the brain is essential, of course. But what about their bodies, their spirits, and their emotional stability? What these kids need is all-round development, mental, physical, and social. A complete training to enable them to work efficiently in years to come and to live happily during the leisure time after work. They're getting some of that in school now, I know. We have our physical education classes, and that's a good start in physical and social development. And our organized school athletics are good training for those who are able to make the teams. But that isn't enough. There just isn't time during the school period for enough physical and social training through recreation. After school, we're through with these youngsters. Our job's done. They're free, glad of it. They can do what they like, where they like, as they like. Only one thing is sure. They're going to be doing something. If they get into trouble, we'll punish them for it. But apparently, what they do is none of our business until after they've done it, because this community hasn't made any plans to direct their energies. But come to think of it, we adults aren't much better off. Work's finished at 5 o'clock. Then what? What can we do for wholesome recreation in our leisure time? We lock up all the places where people could be enjoying themselves. Space? Heck, there's lots of space in this town. Idle most of the time when it could be used for recreation. People are hungry for space to play, and yet it's all around them. No, it's all wrong. By golly, I think I'll try to do something about it.
In this small American town, a school teacher got an idea and started to do something about it. That's what makes progress in America. Just one sincere conviction, one honest recognition of a need, and a clear vision of its fulfillment. Then, a spark of enthusiasm. Quickly, the spark takes hold and works its way up through the democracy of community administration. From the teacher to the principal, then to the chairman of the school board, the spark becomes a flame. Where purpose is sincere, approval comes easily. From the school board to the people's representatives, the flame grows larger. Now it's a fire of enthusiasm, and enthusiasm is the most contagious thing in the world. Nothing spreads faster than a good idea, and every community has its channels for spreading ideas. Through these channels, the fire spreads until it envelops every civic organization. Constantly, new people carry the flame to new groups who in turn pass it on to others. And the old enthusiasts reach out to every possible source of support. In commercial concerns, shortened workdays have left employees with more leisure time than ever before. Management will readily support a recreation movement because they know the relationship between leisure time and a man's work power. And they know, too, that the responsibility of their citizenship requires an investment in tomorrow's manpower as well. By its very nature, a progressive community is a dynamic thing. Give it a cause and a purpose. Let the people see that by their own cooperative efforts, they can take one more step in progress, and immediately they will all start their share of planning. In this town, the first step was the organization of a recreation planning committee. Every public and voluntary agency, every civic, patriotic, religious, social, and private group was invited to help in the planning. And on this committee, all their personal interests were subject to the overall interests of the community. Youthful ideas, forming fast and quick young brains, were encouraged to flow into the common pool to inspire the wisdom of maturity. If all ages are to be part of the program, all ages must be part of its planning. A community enterprise springs healthiest from its own roots, so every level of community life was represented in this initiative committee. Soon, a permanent organization started to take shape. Here were concentrated all plans and all action, a focal point for enthusiasm and a stimulus to effort. Regardless of initial enthusiasm, effort does need stimulus. So an important part of the committee's work was publicity that used every possible medium. Newspapers, always generous in support of civic enterprise, encouraged more active support from all citizens. Radio stations brought progress reports into every home. Posters all over town reminded everyone of the new community effort. And down at headquarters, a corps of volunteers kept a constant flow of information and publicity pouring out through the town. Thus, they made every community enterprise a part of the new project. But community planning must be done with proper consideration of the community's wants and needs. So the next step was to survey those needs. A survey ballot suggested hundreds of recreational activities and asked every man, woman, and child in town to state a preference. You want recreation? What kind of recreation do you want? A program imposed without regard for the wants and needs of most of the people will surely fail. Here on these ballots were the people's recreational desires. With these requests tabulated, the planning committee could set up a paper program and figure out a budget. The next problem was money. In a people's program, money must come from the people, so the city council called for a vote. The people had asked for recreation, so now the council asked them for an official request through the ballot boxes. And still, the committee kept working to assure the project's success. The people said yes. Now the committee could start its long-range program. But they knew that long-range plans would be too slow. Recreation was a present need, so they planned to use existing space for today's recreation until tomorrow's plans were a reality. Previously forbidden parks were opened up for play, and the committee started a systematic search for space that could be converted quickly to satisfy immediate recreation needs. Vacant fields were made into play fields, and any available indoor space, churches, schools, any private or public buildings, were used immediately for indoor activity. All this happened only recently in an average American town. The people are playing there now, but their planners are also concerned with the future. A good architect is designing new grounds and buildings for recreation for the whole town, while the committee is busy organizing for leadership and finance. What the future of this town will be can best be seen in another town where several years ago the citizens made the same decision and started a long-range program of recreation. Here is that town, close to the center of the United States. The sign on the highway reads, Decatur, Illinois, population 59,305. From a distance, it looks like any other town of its size. Its people make their living from factories, stores, offices, railroads, and surrounding farms, just as in many other American communities. When you meet them on Main Street, they look as familiar as anyone's neighbors anywhere in the United States. But go out with them to one of their parks, and you'll begin to sense a difference. There's a lively spirit in Decatur that makes Decatur people worth knowing, for their town is a town where everybody plays. Several years ago, they decided that recreation was a community necessity, and they were so convinced that right in the middle of a depression, they voted to support recreation out of their city taxes. One of their first problems was who was going to manage the program. In order to be sure it was exactly what they wanted, they appointed a special recreation board to work with the park board, the school board, and all other local agencies to make the best use of all the city's facilities. Space and equipment became a problem as the plan caught hold and expanded. But the city park department developed new properties within easy reach of everyone in the community. Development and maintenance of playground space was the park department's responsibility. The school board had control of a great deal of space, both inside and outside, and it was being used only about 30 hours a week. Here was publicly owned space, vacant most of the time. So the school board opened it up for recreation after school hours. Private recreation interests provided more interior space by cooperating with the recreation board. Then the people themselves added many of their own backyards to the total space. They held annual contests for the best backyard playgrounds, and the result is many little play centers scattered all through the town. On the larger playfields, service clubs found an opportunity to cooperate by providing funds for the special equipment the younger ones needed. Supervised hikes, bicycle tours, and overnight camping trips added all the surrounding country to the town's play space. Then the people wanted water sports, but Decatur had only a small river. But foresight and planning had given them this lake, where the river had been dammed. Thus, Decatur people obtained a lake, hundreds of acres of outdoor play space, and enough indoor space for the whole city simply by using all the community's resources all the time. In addition to all this, special clubs have developed facilities for some activities. A few enthusiasts banded together and developed their facilities with the help of the recreation department. Then they opened their circle to anyone in town who showed an interest in their particular activity. It was by this means that Decatur's people developed one of the finest gun clubs in the country. When membership clubs open their circles to let everyone in the community enjoy their benefits, the true meaning of community recreation becomes a living force in people's lives. When they started their plan, the people knew that someone had to spend a lot of time and energy putting their ideas to work. So they recruited a group of leaders, the most qualified full-time and part-time recreation leaders available. These people became the key figures in their recreation program. They became to the program what a teacher is to the classroom, just as important to Decatur families as the education staff of the city, and they were selected with the same care. These leaders staff every play center and supervise every activity. They are constantly on the watch for any new recreational interest. When any sizable group shows a desire for something new, leaders are quick to provide for it, because they know that recreation can only be successful as long as it serves the people's desires. Good leaders are instructors too. Most people won't enjoy playing any sport for long unless they play with a reasonable degree of skill. Good leadership must provide the instruction necessary to develop skill if a sport is to take root in a young person's life. Decatur's recreation staff has its specialists in every activity for instruction and demonstration. Then careful coaching soon develops a skill that is the basis for lifelong pleasure from the sport. Private enterprise has always been anxious to encourage community sports, and an alert recreation department will take advantage of their services to supplement their own leadership program. Here, Decatur youngsters receive personal instruction from one of baseball's all-time greats, Rogers Hornsby. National figures not only heighten the interest of the youngsters, the very fact that they are in town creates new interest through every age group. But the best of leadership cannot be totally effective without a plan. So the administration's first responsibility is to arrange all the activities in all the playgrounds into a complete year-round program for all ages and all interests. In a complete recreation program, there are no age limits. Some of the more vigorous activities require good physical condition and young hearts. But in Decatur, everybody plays. So the program includes many of those activities that interest young and old alike. Recreation isn't all violent exercise and strenuous excitement. As age increases, it becomes more restful. So the complete program should include those activities that have no limitations of age or physical condition. Thus, fun becomes a family affair. The very young and the very old and all ages in between feeling again the strength of family relationship through play. Decatur, they say the family that plays together stays together. Out on the city's playfields, the Recreation Department's program is arranged to make it easy for everyone to play. Every week it includes some planned activity to interest every member of the community, and competitions are used to heighten the interest of most of them. In Decatur, baseball leagues have become an important feature of the season. The success of this project is improved by the cooperation of local industrial and business concerns. These activities after work hours are recreation not only for those who play. The program also remembers those who prefer to sit and cheer. A complete recreation program does not stop at sundown, and softball is only one of the many activities that can be carried on after dark. The program should include concerts, dramatics, sports events, and other special activities to round out and complete each day of recreation. But recreation doesn't stop at sports and games. No program is complete unless it provides an outlet for creative talent, too. So in Decatur, the program emphasizes a year-round opportunity for arts and crafts. The children express themselves in such arts as painting, woodwork, and leatherwork, while the adult groups add to these the more practical accomplishments. Here, too, interest is heightened by individual competition. And music is a necessary part of recreation, regardless of age. The very young love rhythm bands, and on through every age, music in the form of folk dances, songwriting contests, choral groups, and orchestras makes its contribution to well-rounded development. One of the summer program's bright highlights in Decatur is an all-city roundup. For weeks, the people prepare their colorful costumes. The day is spent in playground rivalry and ends at the cookhouse when the hands get their bowl of stew from the community cauldron. Another highlight is the day camp. Here in nearby parks or forest preserves, the children satisfy a longing for adventure and new activity under the leadership of trained recreation workers. From early morning till evening, they're close to nature. Sometimes they're gone overnight, but always there is a full program of sports and outdoor living. In such an atmosphere, the opportunities and responsibilities of citizenship get a very personal understanding. Civic groups and service clubs find a chance to help in events like these by providing transportation, food, or the campsite itself. When winter comes, the recreation leaders do not relax their aggressive promotion. Snow and cold simply signal the start of another phase of their year-round, all-season activity. In their need for recreation, active bodies do not recognize any change of season. So the winter program is just as full and complete as that of any other season. For indoor sports, there is space in school gymnasiums, auditoriums, and even classrooms that can be made useful through the cooperation of the school board and the recreation department. Music and dramatic groups will flourish during the winter months if they are encouraged by good leadership. Space need be no problem. In any town there is space, idle most of the time. All it needs is public enthusiasm and community initiative to place all the city facilities at the disposal of all the people for their maximum use and enjoyment. That's what Decatur people did. With careful planning and good spirit, they have worked together to make day-to-day living pleasant, healthful, and constructive. By far-sighted, intelligent cooperation, they have obtained a community-wide program at a cost per person less than the price of their weekend newspaper. And they know that their program is permanent because their leaders are keeping it flexible with the ever-changing needs and desires of the people. The youngsters enjoy its true benefits as their young bodies develop with their minds in an all-round program. And the adults know its real meaning as they relax in their leisure time and prepare their minds and bodies for the recurrent challenge of work days. Yes, there is a difference deep inside Decatur. From a distance, it looks like any other American town. It could be your town.